The Dehara of Navisalam by E.S. Wynne. A short story from the collection Para Imminence, Stories of the Future of Rayethu, edited by Storm Constantine and Wendy Darling. For hundreds of years we've carried our Dehara with us to the stars. We've carried our rituals, built new niyatis on alien soil, dedicated them to Miyakala, Agave, Aruhani. For centuries we've started over, much as we did once long ago on Earth. But each time we've brought our Dehara with us. We've brought our past with us. We've planted it and nurtured it in open, fertile soil, and not thought once about what gods or Dehara may have already been there, may have been born with their roots in that same soil. Alien gods. I am one of only a handful of scholars who believe in and pursue such notions. Most Hara are not necessarily opposed to the idea of wholly uninhabited worlds having their own Dehara, their own gods, but few carry the passion to seek them out that I and my brethren do. For us, nothing is more important than the knowledge handed down to Rayethu from Dehara, the discoveries they have helped our species make. But there is always more to know. That is why we seek alien Dehara. That is why we seek the gods born of other worlds. For 48 years I have walked this path. I have traveled to hundreds of systems, set foot on thousands of new, untouched worlds. Only on a few have I found traces of prior civilizations. Only on a few have I knelt down and touched the ruins of life, sifted the ashes of another species' apocalypse through my fingers, felt sadness, loss, emptiness. Never, not even once, have I felt the presence of other gods. I have to admit that when I arrived at the Agha Sedim station on Silvalamia, my hopes for some grand discovery were already low. I was tired, cold from traveling through the fabric of reality, riding lanes tucked between layers of time, space, and the energy membranes of other realities pressing against ours. Agha Sedim. That's the label chosen for the beasts we use to journey from star system to star system. But in truth, they share little in common with the spirits we long ago plied the other lanes with. Agha Sedim are built, forged by Hara and Dehara, gathered together and tempered more of the stuff between dimensions, the substructure of the universe, than of spirit or raw matter. They are machines, conveyances, though even those crude terms fall wide of the mark of what the Agha Sedim really are. They are beacons, things that ply space and time and guide us like golden roads, lead us to the realms we picture in our minds. It is we who do the flying. It is our minds, our spirits, that make possible the journey. Silvalamia was a clean, virgin world, a rugged and green paradise on the long cosmic rim of the wide collection of settlements we'd laid out across the stars. A small group of Hara had set up a village there, built a robust agricultural center where crops were literally sung into blooming. But beyond Rayethu's presence on the planet, there was no evidence the soil or the skies had ever seen the hands of any species more sentient than insect life in all its history. It was a primal world, unpromising as a source of new gods. As I had done countless times before in the past, I met with the Hainama unofficially in charge of the settlement, who greeted me with the usual quiet kindness. Hara, like myself, are rarely greeted with any real enthusiasm, and never any hostility, but rather only a smiling ambivalence. We are seen as a breath of dust upon the wind, something old, unimportant, a trace of the forgotten just blowing through. Like a wayward harling, I was offered simple accommodations for the 2 nights I was scheduled to spend on Silvalamia, then left to my own devices, my own meanderings. Among the settlers, it was my nature to become like a ghost, a passing phantom, barely seen while I moved among them, maybe smiled at once, twice, never lingering long enough to be remembered. Rainier changed all that. Rainier was young, strong. He'd grown up on Civilamia, taken his first breath in the virgin air, and joined his parents among the farmer singers shortly after Febraiha. Being born of the stuff of an alien world, he seemed to move differently, sported hair that grew in dark with natural shades of dusky rose and visceral silver. He sang differently from the others, sang songs that seemed to come from somewhere else, some further, deeper inspiration than the songs of his sire and hostling. Perhaps it was that which intrigued me most about Rainier. Perhaps it was his songs that first gave me hope that Civilamia might be different somehow, unique. "I've seen things out in the fields," Rainier told me that first night. Chance had crossed our paths at the edge of the settlement, when we both wandered to the same overlook, both drawn by the silver purple of the high, full pantheon of moons hanging brilliant and misty in the sky. Beneath us, the world tumbled down to low, sprawling fields of ferns and elegant, delicate flowers, the first primal petals of an alien world's floral evolution, washed by a rain of moonlight. "When I was a harling, I used to wander out there." Rainier gestured out into the distances, passed me a flask of some local flower wine his sire had bottled. "I used to pretend I was a Var, or a Wegenna, or one of the other megalithic tribes you hear about in the history streams. Fighting humans, the Gelaming, fighting to be free." I said nothing, only sipped the strong floral wine, stared out at the fields while he spoke. "There are shadows out there in those fields," he said. "Not in the evil sense. They don't feel malicious. They feel playful. They feel like reflections of the emotions and feelings you put into the air, like mirrors." He shrugged. "Shadows." "Some form of life?" I asked, passing the wine back. "No, this world hasn't evolved anything more profound than scarlet crickets." Rainier shook his head, laughed. "These things, they're like spirits, fledgling spirits, like harlings, innocent, observant, playful." "Dehara?" My eyes dropped as the word fell tired from my lips, absent of enthusiasm. "Maybe." Rainier took a swig of the wine, brushed lips with the back of his hand. "Fate and the nature of the greater, subtle workings of the universe have a way of pulling disparate elements together in ways we least expect. I ran into Rainier twice the second day, first as I was walking through the settlement in search of breakfast, and later as I was gathering a few of my things for a hike out into the fern fields we had talked about the night before. Grinning, laughing at the way things come together, I invited him along with me, asked him to show me some of the places where he'd seen the shadows among the blooms of Civilamia's primal flowers. Generally, I'm one who prefers to travel alone, to keep to himself. Loneliness lends itself to a sense of serenity, a meditative quiet that allows for an easy communing with Agmara. But there was something about Rainier that still intrigued me, something beyond the hair, the magenta highlights that flared in the depths of his eyes when the light of Civilamia's twin suns caught them. It was something more than the strange grace about him, something more than the strange words of the songs he sang as we walked. "What language is that?" I remember asking. The edge of a grin pulled at Rainier's features, tugged at his lips. "Just something I heard once in a dream." His tone was innocent, almost dismissive. Quietly he turned away again, ran his fingers through the outstretched fronds of tall ferns. "The words bring up simple things, urge all that is green to blossom and grow." He glanced back. "The plants like it." "You heard it in a dream?" Compared to the elegant way in which he drifted through the fields, I moved like an elephant, weighed down by my heavy scholar's robe and my pack of ritual tools, tripping over every veiny root that traced its way underfoot. "From one of the Dehara?" "You'll be able to move much easier if you leave your pack behind," he said, changing the subject, turned fully to face me. "And your robe." "I can't, I remember saying, hesitating, watching him as he watched me, seemed to study me with a sort of innocent curiosity. I'll need my tools at hand to construct a proper mahjong when the time comes to try and contact any Dehara that might call this place home. You come here searching for alien Dehara, he grinned, and you think that you're going to find any using ways you've carried with you from Earth? He laughed. Agmara and the rituals our species have carried to the stars work only in very specific ways, Rainier. I shook my head, smiled a little at his innocence. Your Hainama should have taught you this. So rigid, pre-formulated earthly rituals are the only ways to contact Dehara, then? He raised a playful eyebrow at me. I don't... Take off your clothes, he grinned, stretched long and beautiful in the brilliant light of Sivalamia's suns. I remember hesitating in that moment, just watching him, simultaneously attracted and confused. Like a cat, he languished in the stretch, his grin wide, lusty. How do you expect to get in touch with alien Dehara if you don't let yourself become one with the planet first? I don't see how... Relax, he grinned again, slipped out of his ragged tank top and tossed it onto the ground. Nothing will happen to our clothes. There are no thieves or curious animals here. Struck by his elegance, the smooth suppleness of his chest, his arms, his sinuous muscles, I lingered there for a moment, soaked in the light of his smile, the brilliance of his skin as he stripped off the last of his clothing. Now you, he smiled, and hesitating only a moment longer, I breathed, silently gave myself to him, let his hands caress the pack and the clothes from my body. Beneath it all, my skin was far more pale than his, iridescent almost, but his hands lingered in my curves, traced fingers along the lines of my body in quiet appreciation. As one, we sprinted into the fields then, ran hand in hand with a grace and freedom I'd never felt in my own body before. In that moment I felt pure, as innocent as the soil beneath my feet, as clean and free as the sky above us. I felt as if I had shuffled off the weight of my skin, of the body that had been mine, as if I were a wisp of light, of Agmara drifting quick on eager winds to some distant red-purple heaven. Beside me, Rainier was shown as beautiful and brilliant as a slice of moonlight caught shifting through the day, impossibly elegant, a creature of unearthly perfection. How long we ran, I don't know. Time passed in a fleeting instant as quick as an eternity, as long as a breath. Even as he grabbed me and pressed me down among the ferns of the fields, I found myself smiling, breathless, yet alive with a primal, unbreaking stamina. Share breath with me, he whispered into my ear, his tones threading themselves through my being like liquid silk. My hands tightened across his back, smoothed themselves across velvet skin as I looked up, met his eyes, found myself snared by the fire there. I am yours, Rainier, I breathed. Do with me as you will. Like the sinuous movements of some great cat, he pressed himself against me then, lips seeking mine, trapping them, taking them even as I rose to meet his. In the sharing of breath came a mist of images, a scent like lilac, honeydew, the blossoms of dusty roses. Ferns rose up all around us, rattled upward in the tones of a distant song until they closed in over us, became a canopy of dark, verdant warmth. See. In the darkness, where had the daylight gone? I felt Rainier's voice more than heard it, let it draw me, lead me through silvered mist and into a moonlit night. Far above us, the pantheon of moons reigned in the endless, star-dusted sky like the faces of grand Tigrons, cast their light down upon us, watched us with a quiet and lordly benevolence. What is this place? Thoughts came as words, echoed as though I had spoken. Drifting, I floated over stones, moving in a current of mist, floated toward a hazy light that slowly became the moonlit shape of Rainier. Navisalam. He dipped his head in a gentle, smiling nod, the words reaching my mind as thoughts, unspoken, but said nonetheless. It is the name of this world. Then, Sivalamia? An earthly name, he smiled softly, given to this world by those who see things only in earthly terms. And me? I asked. You are different. He made a gentle gesture. You try to see the truth of this place, of other places like this. You try, but you are still so very innocent. You are a Dehar, I tried. A god of this world? I am of this world, he smiled again. I am this world. I am all things in this world. I am subtle and strong. I am the essence of self, of life. A god, I nodded. But there are no traces of a civilization here. I shook my head. Gods are creatures of belief and energy. They cannot manifest without a mind to believe in them. You still think in such earthly terms. Rainier floated to me, caressed my face with gentle hands. There is more to the whole of reality than you realize. In truth it is open. Your rituals, terms, and beliefs give depth and definition to the nature of things as you see them. But they limit you in ways you cannot yet see. Teach me, Rainier, I whispered. Show me the world as you see it. Teach me to see as you see. Open yourself, Rainier breathed. Allow me into your being. Let me rise into your core. Let me breathe the seed of Navisalam into you. I am yours, I said again, and as he embraced me there in that other world, I felt him merging with my distant physical body as well, flesh rising against flesh, in a ritual I understood, a ritual that came alive with all the strangeness and intensity of something wholly new, something wholly alien. As one, we soared into brilliance, caught fire, shone like suns. As one, we rose in the movements of a magic both taught and learned. As one, we summoned the future, became like clouds, gently dancing along the surface of a luminous astral ocean. These are the songs of Navisalam, I heard him say. These are the ways of the magics of the Dehara. Sounds whispered on visual winds, ripples forming shapes in vibrant mercury mist. These are the image words with which you are now trusted. I am yours. The words came from me in a torrent, tore themselves from me. All around me the heat of passion blossomed and bloomed, and then I saw Rainier's smile flare in the darkness, bringing with it a depth of knowledge that sunk in so suddenly, so completely, that I cried out. When I awoke, I was in my robe again, my body cold, empty. Exhaustion quivered in my thighs as I stood, brushed the dirt from my legs. Where the settlement had been, only fields, flowers, ferns, little fronds, dancing in the whispers of a cool summer wind. And awaiting Agha Sedim now remained. A few feet away, my pack lay discarded, still cinched, closed, undisturbed. In the whole of Sivalamia, in the whole of Navisalam, there was no sign of anything Harish, no trace that the families, the Hainama, the buildings, the gardens, even Rainier, had been anything but illusion. I remember looking down at my hands then, studying them, as if seeing them for the first time, when a lock of my hair drifted into my vision, startled me with the shades of dusky rose and visceral silver I saw streaking their way through it. Blinking, I took the lock into my hands, held it, stroked it, marveled at the colors there, the way they caught the light, just as Rainier's had, just as his eyes had, and the moon's had. It was then that the words of Rainier's songs came to me, the words of the Dehara rising up, coursing suddenly through my body in lines and rushes, so powerful I had to let them out, had to set them free to dance among the winds. Alien sounds pierced the air as I sang, rolled like magic over ferns and flowers, flowed from me in a gushing river of faith frequency I didn't want to stop, couldn't stop even if I had desired it. All around me plants came alive, ferns and flowers blossoming, sprouting, growing, rising so tall and verdant that in a moment the field had become like a forest, thick and heavy with succulent, hanging fruit. I smiled, and as I smiled the song came to a rolling crescendo, then finished quietly, leaving a powerful silence in its wake. My grin spread in the wide lines of a happiness deeper than any that I had ever felt before. I felt gratitude, strength, confidence, a sense of achievement so powerful it made me want to howl for joy. For the first time in my whole long life of searching, I had found my Dehara. I had found my alien gods. "Thank you, Rainier," I whispered then, spreading my arms to the wide world of Navisalam, to the twin suns, and the endless fields of ferns and primal flowers stretching on to every horizon. Tears welled at the edges of my eyes as I took a long, deep breath of that pure virgin air and whispered again, "Thank you, Navidahara. Today I rise from your pearl, a new Har. Today I am at last truly alive."